in the building. Here again, once again, in between time again. Give me 1 second. Boy. Yo, now these FBA people, they irking my nerve.
It is a place. It's a place.
Now this is not really against Thomas Sotomayor, because remember, Thomas Sotomayor, he's an objective thinker, so he's going to speak from objectivity, and he's going to listen to your point of objectivity. But I really do believe Jamaicans delineate from Black Americans, again, separate themselves, including myself, right? Because Caribbean Blacks being in the Black American culture, it has weakened us, right? Because what Black Americans are not telling you is that Caribbean Blacks, we also bought into we're all Black and we all the same, right? Because don't get it twisted. Caribbean Blacks, especially in Jamaica, they grew up under the influence of a Marcus Garvey, of a Pan-African movement, of a Martin Luther King civil rights movement, and all these things. And a lot of Caribbean Blacks from Jamaica and Trinidad, when they came to America, they was very heavy into the civil rights fight. They were ride or die, right? And what happened was a lot of Black Americans, especially out here in New York City, at one point in time, used to tease Jamaican niggas. Not tease, it's bully. More like bully. Jump them. Your stories of Jamaican cats getting jumped on the block. Stories of Caribbean cats getting made fun of for their accent. So a lot of Caribbean cats in the 80s and the 90s, especially in the 60s and the 70s, had to drop their culture and their identity because Black Americans would bully them. Black Americans would tease them for their accent. So Black Americans, so Jamaicans, especially Jamaican Blacks, were never really accepted into Black American culture. That's a lie they're telling you. Black Americans want to make themselves make it out to believe that they don't want y'all to believe. Shout out, Max. Black Americans want the rest of the world to believe that they're not racist, or they can't be racist, and not towards just white people, but towards other Blacks of the diaspora, right? And Black Americans have always been tribal that way towards Caribbean Blacks. It's always been that way. They used to not like Jamaican Blacks. Are you going to donate? Shout you out for what? I'm not shouting you out. Okay, cool. Watch this. Why you can't just straight up block a nigga? I can never understand. Why it doesn't just say block? First of all, when you come to the channel, respect my damn channel and what I want to speak about and speak to the topic. No, I'm not going to shout you out on my channel. You have to donate to the show. And some of you left. Good. Like I said, I want quality people over here, not dumbasses. Speak to the topic. God damn. You troll early in the morning, you troll late at night. You not have anything better to do? But anyway, back to what I was saying. Black Americans never used to like Jamaican niggas because when Jamaicans first come to America, they take a lot of the opportunities and a lot of blue collar work like construction, trade skills, and then you have Jamaicans that will work 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs. Not two. That's a bit of a stretch. Like for example, my father, he worked 3 jobs when he came here. My mother, she worked, I think, 2 jobs. She was a house aide, And then she worked as a nurse for 27 years at St. Vincent Hospital. I think before that she used to work at Kingsbrook Hospital in Brooklyn. My aunties, the same thing. So when a lot of Jamaicans come here to America, they take full advantage of the opportunities that are here. So now a lot of Black Americans had resentment for Jamaican Blacks, because I used to remember hearing Black Americans say, tired of these Jamaican niggas coming over here taking the jobs, and they need to go back to their country. This is from Black Americans saying that. You feel me? So that's a lie that Black Americans are saying now. And the reason why they can hide behind it is, one, they never had an FBA movement there, and they were never saying these things, right? Because now they're saying, well, you're not really Black, you're Panamanian, or you're Jamaican, or you're Haitian, you're not really Black. But if there's a feat that makes Black people look good in like the diaspora, then they'll claim Haiti. Like if you come out and you say Haiti is the first Black republic, then they want to claim Haiti. If you want to talk about how the Jamaicans and the Maroons fought against the Spaniards and the Brits, then they want to claim Jamaica as Black. So that's the hypocritical argument for Black Americans, right? What's the other one? The second thing is that you didn't have social media and Facebook or video phones going on in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s and the 60s to give you a picture of the war stories that I myself, as a early 90s baby, I was born in 1992. I grew up in the 90s, born in the 90s, raised in the 2000s, mid-2000s, 2010s, 2010s, and I could tell you war stories, bro. Growing up in East New York, Brooklyn. Having to fight Black American Bloods and Crip niggas. Growing up in Brooklyn. And them directly making fun of your accent for being a Caribbean. I could tell you war stories. So because we don't have those video evidences and we didn't have social media back then, it's like Black Americans can wipe out that history that went down in the 80s and the 90s. And their hatred for us during the 80s and the 90s. And what Black Americans are doing, especially through the sheet, is that they're saying that it wasn't really them having hate for us. They were just making fun of us as far as what you call jonesing. Like in Jamaica, we say run joke. They call it jonesing. So they mask their disrespect and the hateful rhetoric they had for us under the mask or the veil of, okay, we were just cracking jokes, or y'all are too sensitive. That's what they're doing. And the problem is that we couldn't avoid the problem. Is that we didn't have iPhones like I'm looking at you through right now. We didn't have social media back then, right? So it's like there's nothing we can draw back from the past that's concrete, unless now you're going to talk to Caribbean Blacks that migrated here in the 70s, in the 60s, in the 80s, and the 90s, and let them tell you the stories, right? And that's the issue. That's the issue, is that we cannot prove the hatred that Black Americans showed for Caribbean Blacks from the 80s and the 90s, right? And that's why because of the FBA movement that they have now, and what their rhetoric is now, it's like they can say certain things like they accepted our culture and they can't be debunked or proven against. Because now if I come and talk, or a couple of other Caribbean Blacks talk, it's going to be looked at as from a, a subjective point of view. Right? And I wish that enough Caribbean Blacks would get on YouTube, and especially the older Jamaican Blacks would get up on YouTube and social media and defend yourselves instead of letting the FBA bully you again. Mind you, it's now a cyber bully. It's now more internet bullying. Back then it was a physical bullying, outside type of bullying. Now Black Americans are bullying Caribbean niggas again, just on the internet and social media. And I feel like I'm the only one taking the charge to step up and say, nah, Y'all bullshit. Right? Now, am I saying that Jamaican niggas didn't say any hateful rhetoric towards Black Americans? No, I'm not saying that we did. We did, but it was in response to them fucking with us first. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of Jamaicans, when they come to America, because remember, we were under the whole pro-Black, Rastafarianism, we all one blood, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, all of that. We was all under that umbrella. It's just that when a lot of Jamaican immigrants got here, they were not received very well by Black Americans. And I don't remember what year this was in the 2000s, but Caribbean niggas was trying to break away from Black American culture because of the hostility we was getting from them. So they was trying to break away from that culture. And then Black Americans shamed the Caribbean Blacks by saying y'all are white supremacists, y'all are not really Black anyway, y'all are exotic Black, all kind of shit. Y'all are really white Black anyway. And it was always a time where Jamaican Blacks or Caribbean Blacks didn't agree with something that some kind of debauchery that Black Americans was going on with back then. And two, because Jamaicans come from a conservative mindset. Like if you go to Jamaica, especially if they come from middle class, right? They come from a conservative mindset. So they're going to speak conservative ideas. So it may sound like they're being racist, but they're not. Because in Jamaica, it's really a class thing, right? But what I'm noticing now is that Black Americans are now blaming Jamaican Blacks for their crime rate. The new thing is the out-of-wedlock births. They're blaming us for the degradation of their culture. And I've done videos prior to this showing you how FBA Black Americans since the 1920s were being debaucherous. When Minister Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad spoke, they were talking about the debauchery of Black Americans during their time, during the 1920s, the 1950s, and the 1960s. And Elijah Muhammad is the FBA. The Nation of Islam, when they were critiquing Black people, or the American Negro, as they would call it, they were critiquing the debauchery of Black Americans during that time, of their time, in the 1960s and the 50s and the 40s and the 30s and the 20s. See what I'm saying? So if your debauchery was taking place during those times, and Jamaicans did not immigrate here to America until the 1960s, like that, how could you now blame Caribbean Blacks for your problems? Plus, most of your drug dealers were Black Americans. Freeway Ricky Walls, Frank Lucas. If you go watch American Gangster, all of the dope dealers on there were FBAs. Your Supreme Griffs. See what I'm saying? So now the new thing is that FBI are now blaming the FBA or Black Americans are now blaming Caribbean Blacks, or at least Black Americans on the internet, or FBA on the internet. They're now blaming Caribbean Blacks for their issues or their bullshit. I've also heard Black Americans get up on YouTube and say that Jamaican niggas come here and copy their style and copy their culture. Which is ridiculous. Because let's dissect that logic right there, right? If Jamaicans are coming here, right? And you're bullying us for bringing our culture in here. Like you used to make fun of our accent, the way we dress, all that. Call us banana boat music, coconut music, all of that shit, right? And we have to drop our accent and then adopt your culture for you to accept us. How can you now come back and turn around and blame us for mimicking your culture? But the only way you would accept Jamaican Blacks into your culture if we had to drop our culture identity to adopt yours, to be accepted. Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. Second, Jamaican Blacks during the 80s and the 90s, we brought our culture here full blast. Every Labor Day, you see Jamaican niggas come doing that whole Labor Day parade weekend in New York. That's Caribbean niggas coming with their culture. doing their indigenous dances that they have, bringing their cultural food, talking our patois, wearing our flags, showing Jamaican pride. We have our own way how we cook food. We have our own way how we dress. Like for example, right? You can tell the difference between how a Jamaican nigga wears New York gear, or how, especially during the 90s and the early 2000s and the mid 2000s, you can tell the difference between when a Jamaican nigga in New York wore New York City gear or streetwear versus a Black American that wore New York City street gear. You can tell the difference. Because no matter if I'm wearing a jersey or I'm wearing Adidas or Nikes, I'm gonna wear it like I'm a Jamaican nigga. I'm gonna put my identity in that shit. So that's a complete lie that Jamaican niggas come over here and they're just copying your culture and mimicking your culture. When we have our own culture already. And when we came to America, we brought our culture with us. How are we mimicking Black American culture when we've influenced Japan, China, UK? A lot of the UK blacks over there, the Nigerians over there in the UK, they get their culture from Jamaican blacks. You have a whole sound system culture, dancehall culture in Japan, where the Japanese emulate Jamaicans. Go look it up. A lot of the Africans with what you call Afrobeat. Afrobeat is the child of dancehall reggae. And a lot of the Afrobeat, or the Africans over there, they emulate or they copy Jamaican dancehall artists. So how are Jamaican niggas copying Black American culture when we embrace our culture? And we've been embracing that since we got here. It's just that Black Americans used to make fun of us for our culture. I've never heard a white European from Australia, from a Jewish guy, from the UK, from Canada, even white Americans, even from like Italians or any of those other European groups, or even Irish. I have never heard those European groups have as much hate for Jamaican blacks as I see from American blacks. I've never heard an Irish person say to Jamaican niggas, you banana boats, or call us coconuts. I never heard them say that. I never heard them refer to our music in that way. As a matter of fact, a lot of those Europeans, when they come to Jamaica, they have fun. They go to Carnival, they embrace our culture. You go to Canada, they embrace our culture. You go to UK, they embrace our culture. The only people that don't embrace Jamaican culture like that is Black Americans. Now, I'm not talking about Black Americans as an individual, right? You have a lot of those, a lot of individual Black Americans from those pro-Black sectors or groups like the NOI, like the Hebrew Israelites, like a lot of 5%ers, a lot of those little individual pro-Black groups that did have love for their brothers and sisters during the diaspora. So this is not to the individual Blacks that have shown love and respect for Caribbean Blacks. I'm talking about Black America or FBA as a collective in general, right? In general, Black Americans never had a love or like for Caribbean Blacks. They always used to make fun of us and make fun of our accent. And I'm 32 years old. I'm born in 1992. I can tell you. Used to get fights in school over trying to speak my Caribbean accent. And I'm born here in America. I remember used to try to bring out my Caribbean pride, my Jamaican pride. They used to try to bully me for that. Used to be in the principal's office in detention, getting into fights over me being Caribbean. And a lot of Caribbean Blacks can tell you that. It's just that a lot of Caribbean Blacks, they don't want to sound divisive. They don't want to sound like I think what happens with a lot of Caribbean Blacks and Jamaican Blacks, they want to be accepted by Black American culture. Right? A And I think, in my opinion, that's what weakened Caribbean culture and Jamaican culture, is that we tried to integrate with Black Americans, and even though they showed us hostility, we still tried to forgive them and integrate with them. And because we've been, and we got to remember, Black American culture has a lot of Marxist, communist ideals and principles with it. And that's why Black American culture cannot get ahead, because they have a lot of Marxist, leftist, left-leaning ideologies in their culture, or plaguing their culture and mindset, right? And because Caribbean Blacks, we've integrated ourselves into that culture, and that's really our fault, to be honest. We integrated ourselves into their culture. That has plagued our mindset too, and it's caused us to become lazy when we get out here. It caused us to be disrespectful, lose a lot of the principles our forebearers, our Jamaican grandmothers and fathers raised us with. And that's really our fault, because we forgot to compete and innovate and achieve within our own nation, because we were resting on the accolades of Black American culture, because we thought we were part of their culture, when they showed us that we were not. They didn't accept us, right? So I'm going to play a clip. Go to the main topic. I'm going to play a clip of Tommy Sotomayor on Rumble, and he was talking to this guy in one of those Twitter spaces, and the guy made some leaping lies. So we're gonna have to dissect that one.
Many of us might be there. Many of us might. Rumble. If you missed this, and if he dead, I mean.
So I wanted to say there's a difference between being an irritant and then being a joke.
Copied your same phone call where you got up out of the chair.
Anyway, thank you, brother, for the United States, or wherever you are 100% correct.
Your kind is, an American
Black. They're all just black. And then those kids have
Right.
hatred, and that's what's fun about how where did this baby come from? And two, why is it black? To their groups, but blacks let everybody in. I can agree with that.
You're a little bit older than I am. At one point in time, we didn't have this thing, FBA, Caribbean, like we in Florida and New York.
And I never heard of.
So from the 60s, the immigration thing.
He got his hands up, but a power.
Hey, what's up, Tommy?
Not much talk to.
Hey, so we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago about the immigration thing, and I got some stats for you that I would like for you to kind of contest.
So we're gonna let him read off the stats, and then we're gonna look up those stats for ourselves, right? Now you got to remember, Tommy Sotomayor, he speaks from an objective point of view. So he's going to give you an objective thought or an objective answer based upon logic and reasoning. And he's going to have the discussion, right? So this is not really a blame to Tommy Sotomayor or hatred towards Tommy Sotomayor. It's really toward what the guy was saying, right?
Like I was telling you about these stats for African American out-of-wedlock birth rate. So in 1950, Black Americans out-of-wedlock birth rates was at 18%. In Jamaica, the out-of-wedlock birth rates were 70 to 80%. 10 years later, in the 1960s, when they started coming in, our out-of-wedlock birth rate started going up. So it went from 18 to...
I don't know if y'all heard that. Tommy Sotomayor. I don't know if y'all heard that one. If y'all in the chat, say something in the chat if you heard that. He said that the stats of Black Americans before the 1960s and the 1950s for out-of-wedlock births was at 18%. But after the 60s, when the immigrants, mainly Jamaican niggas, came here, now mind you, they always, whenever they want to take shots at immigrants, they go directly for Jamaican niggas first. He said that the out-of-wedlock birth in Jamaica is 80%. And then he said that after the Jamaicans migrated here, the out-of-wedlock birth in Black American culture increased. Right? This is what he's saying.
25%. Now, Jamaica still has a high out-of-wedlock birth rate today. So from the 60s, it went from 18 to 25%. The 70s, it went all the way up to 50%. You know.
So you're saying it's them tethers' fault?
No, I'm saying it's immigration's fault.
Now, before we continue, let's look this up. Tracking census American census on Jamaican blacks since the 1960s. So let's first look at the out-of-wedlock births of Black Americans. Births, Black Americans. Americans. They really don't like Jamaican blacks, bro. And I'm telling you, it didn't start with the FBA. It started since the 80s and the 90s and the 60s. Okay. 1940s. Let's go. So instead of Black Americans blaming themselves for falling for Lyndon Baines Johnson welfare state, where Black American women chose to turn on their black men and chose the government, they want to blame Caribbean blacks for their fucking problems. There we go. This is from, I'm going to post this in the chat. And y'all can go look this up yourself. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. For right now, I have to. This is the best I can do till I can do better. Right? Since the 1970s, out-of-wedlock birth rates have soared. In 1965, 24% of Black infants and 3.1% of white infants were born to single mothers. See, now that's doing a. They're talking about both Black Americans and white Americans. By the 1990s, the rate had risen from 64% for Black infants and 18% for whites. Every year, about 1 million more children are born into fatherless homes. If we have learned any policy lesson, well, over the past 5 years, it is that for children living in single-parent homes, the odds of living in poverty are great. And the reason why that is because in order for you to get the benefit of the welfare check from Democrats or the left is that you have to be in poverty. So it's not racism causing poverty. It's you choosing to be in poverty to get handouts from the government, right? Efforts by social scientists to explain the rise of out-of-wedlock births have so far been unconvincing. The several theories have a wide popular following. One argument that appeals to conservatives is that Charles Murray, who attributes the increase of overly generous federal welfare, he says it right here, but as David Elwood and Lawrence, let me read that again. One argument that appeals to the conservatives is that Charles Murray, who attributes the increase to overly generous federal welfare benefits. But as David Elwood and Lawrence Summers have shown, welfare benefits could not have played a major role in the rise of out-of-wedlock births because benefits rose sharply in the 1960s and then fell in the 1970s and the 1980s. But out-of-wedlock births rose most. A study by Robert Moffitt in 1982 also found that welfare benefits can account for only a small fraction of the rise in out-of-wedlock birth ratio. Liberals have tended to favor. I think that's a lie right there. Liberals have tended to favor the explanation offered by William Julius Wilson in a 1987 study, Wilson attributed the increase of out-of-wedlock births to the decline in marriageability of black men due to a shortage of jobs for less educated men. But Robert D. Mayer, what's going on, Ross? Respect the channel, talk to what I'm speaking about. But Robert D. Mayer and Christopher Winship have estimated that almost 20% of the decline in marriage rates of blacks between 1960 and 1980 can be explained by decrease in employment, and Robert G. Wood has estimated that only 3 to 4% of the decline in black marriage rates can be explained by the shrinking of pool of eligible black men. Now, they put this blame on black men, and this is me picking up from my black American brothers right now, all right? They're saying they're putting the blame on black men not being eligible for marriage. But it's not based upon what the woman wants, right? And let me tell you this in black American culture and Caribbean culture, right? The father will be there in the child's lives. So when you say out-of-wedlock birth, that means that you're not being married to the child. That's what that means. You're not married to the child's mother, or you wasn't there when at the signing of the birth certificate. It doesn't mean that the father wasn't there. That's why there's a stat that's saying that 70% of black American men are the most involved father when it comes to being in their child's lives, right? So you cannot say that because of out-of-wedlock birth and because of the lack of black men being married, that the fathers were not there in that damn child's life. They were there. Just that if the father wasn't there at the signing of that birth certificate, they were going to count that as out-of-wedlock birth. That's why they're saying that, welfare, you cannot use welfare as a marker for why the out-of-wedlock birth percentage increased. Because let me say this properly, slow down. Because, like I said, out-of-wedlock birth means the father wasn't there, he wasn't married to that woman. No, I mean, the father was not married to that woman. It doesn't mean that the father wasn't there to support that woman and that child. Because most black men, even though they're divorced from the mother, not divorced, even though they're not with the mother, they still give the mother money and they still give the child money. That's what the average black man does that's has a kid by his child's mother, right? But you can't say that because of out-of-wedlock birth, and you cannot put it on or say that there's not enough eligible black men because there's not enough jobs for them to have, reasons why they're not being married, and it's the reason the cause of the out-of-wedlock births. No, you cannot put that on black men. You feel me? You can't really put that on black men. Second, because in black American culture and in Caribbean culture, I have witnessed, because I have black American homies, right? Because I grew up in New York, right? Like I said, my beef or argument is not with black American individuals, it's with the collective in general. And it's with some of the talking points that are being said on the internet. But I've witnessed situations where, and I lost my damn thought. I can't believe I forgot that shit now. I've witnessed where black American men would try to be in that child's life, try to show up to that child's life, and the mother would push this dude away. A lot of black American men would try to marry their baby mamas, and the baby mama just would not marry him. She'd push him away. She'd call police on him. He'd be working at the damn grocery store down the block. Bring money to the kid, and he tried to see the kid, and the baby mama got a new nigga in the apartment and won't let the father see his child. So the reason why black men are not getting married is not because of black men, it's because of black women being difficult. Second, a lot of black American men will say, okay, cool, I'll be there and take care of my child, but I'm not going to be in a relationship or marriage with this ratchet baby mama. So this is why you can't say out-of-wedlock births or not enough eligible black men is the issue when black women are not making it easy for them to marry them. So this right here article is one of those feminist written articles, in my opinion. All right. The answer: no more shotgun marriages. In the late 1960s, what? No more shotgun marriages. So in the late 1960s and very early 1970s, well before Roe versus Wade in January 1973, many major states, including New York, California, liberalized their abortion laws. About the same time, it became easier for unmarried people to obtain contraceptives. See, contraceptives, that's for, that could be like condoms or birth control. About the same time, so if they had contraceptives, that means they weren't getting pregnant. In July 1970, the Massachusetts law prohibiting the distribution of contraceptives to unmarried people was declared unconstitutional. We found out this rather sudden increase in the availability of both abortion and contraception. We call it a reproductive technology shock. Reproductive technology shock is deeply implicated in the increase of out-of-wedlock births. How if they run contraceptives? Doesn't make any sense. If they have contraceptives and they have an abortion, then kids are not being born. Whatever. Although many observers expected liberalized abortion and contraception to lead to fewer out-of-wedlock births, in fact, the opposite happened. Also, so they're saying the opposite has happened. So let's look at this. America's reproductive technology shock. This one right here, I want to see if it's by race. Right. See, now this article, I'm not going to read throughout this whole article. This article is specific to Black Americans. All right, so we're not going to go through that whole article. Let me look for some more stats. Since the 1960s. Now, I read a prior article. We're going to read this article, cross-reference. Now, according to the AI in Google, right, and I should look into perplexity. Since the 1960s, the rate of out-of-wedlock births among Black Americans has significantly increased, with a substantial rise observed, particularly between the 1960s and the 1980s. Where percentage of Black children born to unmarried mothers went from around 25% to over 60%, according to the data from the 1965 Mohan Report and later studies. This trend is often attributed to factors like changing social norms, economic disparities, and welfare policies. Key points about out-of-wedlock births among Black Americans since the 1960s. The portion of Black children born outside of marriage has significantly increased since the 1960s. Most notably, rise occurred in the later half of the 20th century. I already told y'all that part, right? Because see, what I'm not going to do, what Black Americans are doing to Jamaican Blacks, is I'm not going to lie on you, and I'm not going to disparage you, and I'm not going to be unfair to you, right? I already told y'all that just because there's an out-of-wedlock birth doesn't mean that the father is not there. Okay, what did I want to look into? So this is that. I'm going to be going to perplexity, right? Perplexity AI. Going to perplexity. Gotta go after this, talk my shit on this, and then be up out of here. Ooh, the fucking pro search, nigga. No, the search. No, nigga. The search. Okay. Excellent. Perplexity is like an AI search bar. You search it and it show you the things, the information, and it gives you the sources, right? This is pretty much saying the same thing. So by 2020, the rate had reached 28% for Black Americans. This out-of-wedlock births for Black Americans, right? One of the reasons this is because of social norms, because now the social norm of relationships now is woman gets pregnant by ancient dude, the woman puts herself on welfare, child support to get money from the government. So that's what, and that's not even amongst just Black American culture. That's what other cultures here in America too, right? So let's go for out-of-wedlock births for. Wish I could show you our perplexity. Edit. For now, the guy said for Jamaicans. And let me do this. Let me see here. Okay, so this is talking about the out-of-wedlock birth rate in Jamaica. In the 1960s, approximately 70% of births took place outside of marriage at the time. This is for Jamaica, right? And in Jamaica, you can just file for your kid. You can't just migrate to America and file for your child to come up here so easy. It's not that easy like that. The Jamaican government, with support from USAID, implemented family planning programs starting in 1966. These programs focus on providing contraceptives to unmarried women due to the high rate of out-of-wedlock birth. A lot of y'all Jamaican niggas over there be doing some fucking, be getting married. You cut the fucking out, especially in the ghetto. The increased availability and use of contraceptives in Jamaica led to a reduction in average number of births for women from nearly 6 in 1965 to about 2 in 2015. So the out-of-wedlock births because of contraceptives in Jamaica actually decreased. Oh, watch this. Contraceptive use in Jamaica increased significantly over time. In 1970, about 33% of married women reported using modern contraceptives. By 2008, this figure had doubled to 68%. So, in Jamaica, Jamaican women use contraceptives at a high rate. Now, the other stats about Black Americans, that was specifically to Black Americans. Hold on. Out-of-wedlock births. Jamaican. Let's see. Let's get an accurate thing. Like black Americans want to blame everybody but themselves. And since they can't fuck with white people now, they want to mess with Caribbean blacks now. Again, this is not the first time they've been doing this to Caribbean blacks. It's not the first. I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it. And a lot of y'all Caribbean people need to get up on YouTube and defend yourself. Jamaica has one of the highest rates of out-of-wedlock births in the world as of 2016. 86% of the children in Jamaica were born to unmarried parents, while only 14% were born to parents who were married to each other. This trend has persisted for decades. The historical data showing that between 1955 and 1988, almost half the birth records in Jamaica did not include fathers' names. The high rate of out-of-wedlock births, so it just seemed like the same thing as in Jamaica, right? Because a lot of times the father will be there. They just don't be there to sign the damn birth certificate, but they there. Intergenerational patterns. Children who grow up with unmarried parents are more likely to continue this behavior, a process called introjection. Now, I'll say this is more prevalent in like the garrison and the ghetto now. This is more prevalent. Like when you get to middle class or like in the country, you'll see the father be more prevalent there, right? Intergenerational patterns. Children who grow up with unmarried parents are more likely to continue this behavior, a process called introjection. Cultural and religious influences. Despite Jamaica having a high number of churches per square mile, the country still maintains a high rate of out-of-wedlock births. The Jamaican government has taken steps to address this issue. The Status of Children Act of 1976 aimed to remove legal distinctions between legitimate and illegitimate children. The Registrar General's Department has encouraged parents to ensure that children are fully registered, including the father's name on the birth certificates. So that's the system to get legitimate kids, right? Social stigma. Out-of-wedlock births still attract scorn and ostracism in Jamaica. Legal hurdles and the legitimate, damn, I cannot say this word. The Legit Act of 1909, which only recognizes children born in marriage or whose parents substantially marry as legitimate, remains in force. So that's saying that they're not gonna look as that child being born as a legitimate kid if the two people aren't married. Immigration issues, incomplete birth registrations have impacted subsequent immigration applications for many Jamaicans. So, Black Americans, you cannot blame Caribbean blacks for why out-of-wedlock births increase in America, because a lot of Jamaicans, their applications get revoked or rejected before they even get out here. Hold on. Did Jamaicans affect the out-of-wedlock birth rate in America? And see, you can't really depend on AI or Google. You have to go out there and ask. All I gotta say to the Caribbean family and the Caribbean diaspora, I agree. We should delineate from Black Americans, because all they're gonna do is blame us for why they shit stinks. And I love Black Americans, bro. I love my brothers and my sisters, and I agree with y'all having an FBA movement. But to jump out there and blame us, Caribbean blacks, for your fuck ups is wild. And I'm not gonna sit on YouTube or while I have a channel and I can talk my shit. I'm not gonna sit here and allow those lies to continue, because they're lies. Do we Jamaicans have our own problems? We have our own house to clean up? Yes, we do. But you're not gonna blame us for why your house is fucked up. Just like, bro. Let's see. Based on the provider search result, there's no specific information about Jamaicans affecting the out-of-wedlock birth rate in America. These results do not contain any data or statistics related to Jamaican immigrants and their impact on the out-of-wedlock births in the United States. The search results primarily focus on general fertility amongst immigrants and native-born Americans, but do not provide information about specific nationalities of out-of-wedlock births. Without more relevant information, it is not possible to make any claims about the impact of Jamaicans on the out-of-wedlock births rate in America. Let's look, let's ask Perplexity this. Out-of-wedlock birth rate of Jamaicans, Jamaica, and Black Americans are acting as if like Jamaican niggas, we threw our culture at you, we threw ourselves at you, we beg you to accept us. Bullshit. You get the fuck up out of here. Let's see. Now I do agree that in the black diaspora or the black culture, if you whatever you want to call this thing nowadays, I do agree that we just accept everybody as black, or because we're all black, we think we all the same. You can be of a black nation or empire, but have your own tribe and nationality. So you can have black people, but say, I'm a Jamaican black, or I'm a Haitian black, or I'm a Black American, right? And the general reason why most Caribbeans don't like calling themselves black is because of a casting system that goes on in the Caribbean islands. Because most of the Caribbean islands, they still fall up under the residue of the British Empire. And the British Empire, they operate off of a casting system. And to call yourself black in a Caribbean island, it takes away your human rights from you. It puts you position yourself at the lowest bottom of the totem pole. So that's why a lot of Jamaicans like myself, we call ourselves Jamaican Americans when you ask us what's our nationality. Because we're telling you that I'm tied to a landmass. I'm tied to a nation, a culture of people, right? And black was used by the Europeans to dehumanize indigenous people so they could treat them bad, so they can enslave them. That's why that was created. You feel me? So that's why Jamaicans was trying to get away from calling themselves black and nationalizing themselves. So it's not that black, like Jamaicans is not calling themselves black because they don't see themselves as similar or the same as Black Americans. We're not calling ourselves black because of a political reasons, human rights reasons. Let's see here. I want to ask Perplexity something else. Oh. Population of Jamaican immigrants in America by the 1960s. By 1960, there were approximately 193,000 Caribbean immigrants in the United States, with Jamaicans comprising a significant portion of this population. The number of Jamaican immigrants specifically was not provided in search results, but it is important to note that Jamaican immigration to the U.S. increased significantly during the Civil Rights era. Vote on Jamaican immigrants. The 1960s marked the beginning of rapid acceleration in Caribbean immigrants to the United States. The Caribbean immigrants population grew by 248% in the 1960s, reaching 675,000 by 1970. Jamaican U.S. immigration increased dramatically during this decade, primarily consisting of skilled Jamaican nurses. So that's a lot of Jamaican women, like my mother, that migrated here and became nurses or home health aides or in the medical field, right? High U.S. labor demand for nurses and medical workers shifted immigrant destinations after restriction from the British Commonwealth, Immigration Act 1962. The American Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which favored higher skilled Jamaicans and other West Indians. So you had to have skills to come to America as a Jamaican. You couldn't be a dumbass and come to Jamaica as a Jamaican. You had to be skilled to come here. And this is benefit mainly Jamaican women. Because it's talk about skilled nurses and medical workers, which can be men too, right? And it says favored higher skilled Jamaicans and other West Indians. So America is not just importing Jamaicans or Caribbeans into America who are stupid. You got to have skills in something for them to get here. So you mean to tell me that this 675,000 Jamaicans that came to America affected the out-of-wedlock birth rate in America of Black Americans? I doubt that. Right? I already told you what the out-of-wedlock birth rate was in Jamaica. That was 70%. So that would mean that the most of the Jamaicans in Jamaica had to have moved, all of them, to America to increase the out-of-wedlock birth rate significantly amongst Black Americans. That's impossible. That would mean that it had to have been millions of Jamaicans moving to America to increase that during the 1960s and after. And then, mind you, a lot of Jamaican immigrants, they would migrate mainly to the East Coast, like New York, New Jersey, PA, Philadelphia, or Philly, right? Or if they go to the South, mainly Atlanta or Florida, but not the entire Black America, not like in places like LA or the West Coast, right? I don't even think that the West Coast Blacks or Southern Blacks really like Jamaican Blacks like that either. All right, let's look at the population of, and they even have a track. So they're tracking, they have a differentiation between the different ethnic groups. So it's not like the United States is just moving them over here and just branding them with Black. They're giving you a Caribbean immigration, they're giving them a nationality. So let's go to it. So let's look at the population of Jamaica in America. So according to the 2020 U.S. Census, there were over 1 million Jamaican Americans in the United States. However, this number may be underestimated. As an estimate from the American community, survey shows over 1.5 million people of Jamaican descent living in America. Jamaican immigrants primarily concentrate in the East, I told you, on the Eastern Coast, with the largest populations found in New York. New York accounts for over 284,000 Jamaicans. Florida accounts for 254 Jamaicans. New Jersey accounts for 61,000 Jamaicans. Georgia, 60,000. Connecticut, 52,000. So, Florida and New York are home to the majority of Jamaican immigrants, with 41% residing in Florida and 25% in New York. Miami-Dade County in Florida has the highest concentration, with 864 Jamaican immigrants. 864,000 Jamaican immigrants. What's the Black American population? I think the Black American population is like 50 million or something like that. Let me see. African American population. So you can't tell me that a small minority of Jamaican blacks up here is saying, so overall it's about like 2,825,000 blacks in Jamaican blacks in America, right? Of Jamaican nationality. Right? Let me so African American population. Let's go here. 47.9 million people identified as black. It's even breaking you down the numbers. Florida over 3 million. New York has over 3 million. Georgia has over 3 million. Mississippi. Hold on, my bad. So Caribbean blacks or Caribbean immigrants, mainly Jamaicans, we're 2 million, and they have a separation. They're not even accounting or including Jamaican blacks into Black Americans populace. It's a separate thing, right? Texas had the highest black population with 3,936,000. No, I don't smoke weed. I don't smoke at all. I'm not talking about smoking weed. I'm talking about something. I'm trying to talk about something very important. According to the 2020 census, 46,936,733 respondents identified as black or African American alone in combination, making it the third largest race group in the country. So right there and there, there's a separation. They're not including Jamaicans into the damn group. Let's see. Oh, so here we go. So you got multiracial Black Americans, which is 4 point. So they even account for like the mixed people and the Hispanics, right? So they even separate that. The U.S. Black population is diverse, including single race, non-Hispanic Black Americans, 83% of the total Black population. Multiracial Black Americans, 5.4 million. Black Hispanic Americans, 2.9 million. Additionally, 5.1 million Black Americans. See, this is the problem, Cherokee Shabazz, is that with the FBA group, and this is the problem with the diaspora in general. This is what Jamaican blacks do, right? Because we're very subjective. So one FBA can be saying one thing, and another FBA can be saying another thing. And then now, if you go to the FBA about, so say you have FBA 1 and FBA 2, because both of them had their own subjective thinking, and they don't align up with each other. When you take FBA's 2 argument and you take it to FBA 1's argument, he's going to have a different argument than FBA 2's argument. It's the same thing with Caribbean blacks. This is the problem with black culture in the diaspora as a whole. There's no set constitution, guidelines, or anything. Everybody's just subjective. This is why when you say, for example, Angry Man channel and Tommy Sotomayor, all right? He'll have an argument. Tommy Sotomayor might have an argument about black culture. Both of them coming from black culture, but because they have their own subjective thinking and mindset, you might bring Tommy Sotomayor's argument to Angry Man, for example, and he's not going to agree with it, even though they're both from black culture. So that's the problem with black culture, is that we're very subjective, right? Because see, now you're saying that why would we be blaming? But hold on, I hope you're in the chat still. I'm gonna play the video. This is what we're being blamed for.
Immigration is 1850
on each other. That's why we kill each other so much, because the world tells us what we can and cannot, or that we cannot be humans.
1850. So, like I was telling you about these stats for African American out-of-birth rate. So in 1950, Black Americans out-of-wedlock birth rate was at 18%. In Jamaica, the out-of-wedlock birth rates were 70 to 80%. 10 years later, in the 1960s, when they started coming in, our out-of-wedlock birth rate started going up. So it went from 18 to 25%. Now, Jamaica still has a high out-of-wedlock birth rate today. So from the 60s, it went from 18 to 25%. The 70s, it went all the way up to 50%.
So you're saying it's them tethers' fault?
See? So to Cherokee Shabazz, if you're still in the chat, if you come back to this later on, that's what we're getting blamed for. We're getting blamed for the out-of-wedlock birth situation amongst Black America. That's what we're getting blamed for now. Last week, we were getting blamed for the drug game and the dope game and the crime in America. The week before that, we were getting blamed for why the culture is why Black American culture is in the debauchery the way it is now. That's what we're getting blamed for. The FBA of Black Americans are blaming Caribbean blacks for, one, out-of-wedlock birth rates, two, gang culture and drug culture. When hip-hop was created by dope dealers and drug dealers, FBA dope dealers and drug dealers, right? And the hip-hop foundation of hip-hop was started by street niggas who were hustling. And they use hip-hop to help themselves get away from that type of thing, right? So then we're being blamed for, what were we being blamed for again? We've been just mainly Jamaican niggas. We get blamed for a lot. So it's something that Jamaicans did to Black Americans or towards Black Americans that had them on our case so heavy. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is. Now, Cherokee Shabazz, I don't have an issue with Black Americans creating a movement for yourselves or having a nationality for yourself and even gatekeeping things for yourself. I have no issue with that. My argument is that FBA needs to stop lying. Whoever person is calling himself FBA needs to stop blaming Caribbean blacks for the issues and stop trying to pretend that you really accepted us into your culture when you didn't. You go Reddit right now, there's a thread of Jamaican niggas on Reddit saying this is what our experience was from FBA during the 80s and the 90s. And it wasn't pleasant, according to them. I don't wish there was like social media back then to back it up. But unfortunately, there wasn't. Right? So that's what we're being blamed for. You see what I'm saying? I don't know. It's because, like I said, I've heard these arguments before. This whole FBA thing with them, with Black Americans going at Caribbean blacks. This is not new. This is not new. This is not new. And Black Americans like to tell that, yo, we had to be taught to be accepting of other groups of people. If you had to be taught to be accepting of other groups of people, that means it was never in you to begin with, to accept other groups of people. So I wish that FBA or Black Americans would just jump out there and say, yo, we never liked you or wanted you in our culture to begin with. Just say that. We didn't want you in the culture. And then admit that that was why your hostility was there during the 80s and the 90s and the 60s. Just say that. Right? But I noticed with Black American culture and Caribbean Black culture, whatever, Black diaspora, whatever, right? I noticed that even when the Nation of Islam came about and they were holding Black folks accountable, Black culture does not like it when you expose them for their bullshit. Like, they don't like it. Like, you automatically, your view. That's why they call the intelligent blacks of the Black community, or the blacks that make money in middle class. That's why they call them lame or bourgeois. What they call that shit? Bourgeois. I don't know how to even say that word. Bourgeoisie. That shit. That's why they call them lame, or they demonize those people, because those blacks, right? Don't. No, Farrakhan is Trinidadian. Malcolm X's mother was, I think, a quadroon or octoroon, but she was from Grenada. So you've had many Caribbean blacks that have fought for the cause of Black Americans and Black America culture. The problem with the Nation of Islam is that they're going to hold you accountable. That's the difference between the conscious Black community then and what woke culture is now. The conscious community of back then, of the various different pro-Black organizations, even the Black Panthers, they held each other accountable. That's what conscious was. Conscious Black folks was Black men and women, mainly Black men, finding love and pride into their Blackness. Having love for your brother, love your sister, love your brother. Black men were saying, okay, despise white supremacy, we're still not going to become savages. We're still going to clean ourselves up and take responsibility. Right? But a lot of that ideology was being rejected, in my opinion. Right? Why I say it's rejected is because a lot of people, they didn't accept the Nation of Islam like that. They didn't accept Minister Farrakhan or Elijah Muhammad or Malcolm X, because they were preaching separation from white folks. They were preaching group economics and capitalism. And now that I know better now, a lot of the civil rights movements, a lot of the pro-Black organizations were Marxist and communist. So that's probably why they didn't like a lot of that separation from white people argument back in the day. But yeah, I honestly believe that Caribbean blacks, we need to delineate, as they say, or just step away from the Black American space and just go back to sticking to each other, right? And truth be told, Jamaican blacks, we got to clean our damn house up. Our house is messy and dirty and mucky. A lot of goofiness is going on in the house of Jamaica or Trinidad or Haiti. We really need to get our act together, whether it be Jamaicans at home or Jamaicans abroad. Jamaica, we fell into the same pitfall that the Black Americans fell into, where we allowed the debauchery of our culture to become the standard of our culture. And that cannot continue. Because look at Dancehall Reggae now. Look at Vibes Cartel now over there damn near looking like a damn, I don't even know if I could say that on YouTube. Watch. Vibes Cartel is going to be the first Batiman in our dancehall. You watch. Look at Shansia. Because in order to get attraction in dancehall, you have to be a bad man, or you have to be a bad girl, or you have to shake your ass on TV. And be basically a whore of Babylon for dancehall. And that now, the culture's driving that. So now, the culture influences dancehall, the art, and then the art influences the culture back. So it's like life, which is the culture, influences dancehall, and then dancehall influence back the culture, which is life. So it's like they're influencing each other. Yeah, but the thing about Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, they are who they are to be acceptable to hip hop culture and Black American culture. That's what I'm saying. In order for Caribbean blacks like Nicki Minaj or Cardi B to gain any type of traction or fame amongst hip hop, they have to adapt to the culture of hip hop. So Black Americans cannot blame Cardi B or Nicki Minaj for the debauchery of their culture, because those two are just adapting to the culture to be accepted by the culture, to be pushed by Black American or hip hop culture. Same thing with I see that's the thing, Cherokee. Jamaicans was that too. Jamaicans were all about black first, right? They're about black first because you got to remember, a lot of the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Islam were influenced by Marcus Garvey, right? But Marcus Garvey influenced a lot of the pro-blacks in Jamaica. Malcolm X influenced, and Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan. A lot of pro-black movements influenced a lot of the Jamaican blacks there. So when they came here, they were about black first. But with the shift when it comes to Jamaican blacks is that the reason why they were walking away from the word black is not because they didn't see themselves as the same as Black Americans. It was like a political thing. Because in Jamaica or the Caribbean, they still follow under the British Empire, so to say, right? So they still follow the old casting system. And black is at the bottom. So when you call yourself black in Jamaica, you automatically lose your human rights privileges. You lose your sovereignty. So that's why a lot of Jamaicans started to say, well, I'm not black, I'm Jamaican American. They were proclaiming their nationality, their heritage, their lineage, their bloodline. And you have to understand that black is a racial construct created by your European colonial masters to dehumanize you. That's what a lot of Black Americans got to understand. Calling yourself that word, even though you're trying to get away from your European slave master, by you calling yourself that word, you're still following in line to their programming. You're still attaching yourself to them in a way. Right? But, and then too, Shabazz, like I keep saying this entire stream, we were on code with you, but you did not accept us into your code. Black Americans collectively did not accept Caribbean blacks into their culture or into their code or part of their group. A lot of bullying, a lot of making fun of our accents, a lot of crap. Like I said, I got war stories. So, but no, I think because every time Jamaican niggas don't fall up under the line of Black American culture, or we hold them accountable for something, or we have a criticism about them, not a criticism of them out of hatred for them, but out of like, yo, you need to step your game up. it's always this. I know it's the whole FBA thing now, right? And I'm gonna acknowledge this one, right? Because I'm gonna be truthful. There is those Jamaicans that when they come here, they'll say to the Black American that y'all are lazy, right? And those Jamaicans that say that, they're actually coming from a place of, they separate themselves from you, right? And then you have those Jamaicans that are conservative, and they're giving you an honest criticism. Honest criticism is when a Jamaican who's conservative is speaking to a Black American, he's being honest, and he's just critiquing you out of love. He's telling you, look, you're being lazy, and you're blaming everybody else, but look at the opportunities you have available to you. All you gotta do is get up and go get it. That's honest criticism. Then you have the Jamaican that's being hateful criticism, where he's just criticizing you, or he or she is just critiquing you out of hatred towards you. So I'm not gonna deny that, right? There is that amongst Caribbean blacks in general, where they see themselves as something separate from American blacks, and they'll say some things. They'll say, they'll make some remarks about Black Americans. I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. But even then, you have Jamaican blacks that would check other Jamaican blacks about that and run them through the history of America. Right? So there is that. I'm not going to deny that. But the in general reason why Jamaican blacks might have a conservative criticism about Black Americans is because they have a conservative mindset. And most Black Americans are liberal Democrats. So if a Jamaican is coming at you from a conservative mindset, and a conservative mindset basically is, you got to get up off your ass. You got to go work. You can't be blaming everybody. You got to pick yourself up. That's going to be in conflict with a liberal Democratic mindset, where a liberal Democratic mindset is going to blame why you're fucking up on racism or the government, which is not what Black Americans were during the 60s and the 50s and the 40s. During the 60s and the 40s and the 50s and those times, Black Americans were conservative. And even though they acknowledged white supremacy, they still said, we go get ourselves up and do for self. That's why Tulsa, Oklahoma, even though it was bombed the first time, the second time blacks rebuilt it, it became Black Wall Street. Did y'all know that? By the time it became Black Wall Street, it had gotten bombed already. Black Americans rebuilt themselves and it became Black Wall Street. That's because Black Americans is of a capitalist conservative mindset. And it wasn't until Lyndon B. Johnson and the welfare state came through during the 1960s that a lot of Black Americans turned Democrats. I want to play this last video right quick, showing you this. And again, this is not hate towards Black Americans. If you find me being divisive, I don't care. Because y'all have been divisive for a very long time. And this is not to all Black Americans. This is an in general critique. Because I know there are Black Americans that don't have issues with Jamaican blacks like that. I'm fully aware of that. And what I should say is me critiquing FBA that are on the internet, social media. That's what I should really say. All right. Okay, never mind that. Let's go to this. Black family. Black family. 1986. Last time I checked, what's her name? What's this chick person like? Whoopi Goldberg is a Black American. Oprah Winfrey is a Black American. And a Jewish guy produced Color Purple. A lot of Black American women started Color Purple. Come on, bro. Y'all can't keep blaming everybody else but yourselves. Oh, they got clips up here. All right, so let me play this. Hey. Shout out to you guys for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, for me, right? For me personally, this is me speaking for myself right now, right? It's very difficult for me to walk away from the Black
With
American
360
space.
checking from Capital One, it's all about...
Simply because I grew up in Black culture. So now, because I've studied both Jamaican history and Black American history, and I have the knowledge of certain things, I have the knowledge of why the crime bill got passed by Joe Biden. I'm aware of NAFTA. I'm aware of a lot of the racist practices by white America. I'm still going to, in a lot of cases, pick up and defend Black Americans, especially my Black American brothers, when I see certain shit going on the internet, or I hear a lie being told about Black American men, or any Black man over the diaspora, or in Black America. So so if I see a lie being told or some goofiness being told on a Black American man, I'm gonna pick up and defend it because it's a lie. You feel me? Or Black culture in general, right?
About you. Banking the way you want, where you want.
Play this. Yeah, and guess what? You have I don't know what portion of it is, but you gotta remember, the majority of Black America today is Democratic and left leaning, and they will call you bourgeoisie, or they will shame you for being Republican and having money. They will call you a sellout. Caribbean Blacks do the same thing too. So this is called. I'm gonna post this in the chat. Y'all can look at it like this after, right? Get this after. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. This is not just a channel where I come out here to vent. This is also a channel where I game. Because a lot of times I premiere a lot of video games that I play on Twitch. So y'all can watch that video. We'll play it on here.
And if you're married, none of you are married, raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father.
This is 1986.
One.
These are 18, 16, and 19 or 20. These are bloomers. These are Black American bloomers right here.
The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I don't want no man holding me down, because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so you know it really.
Do not put your GoFundMe. Hey. Watch this. Hey, Ross, you know you're disrespecting my channel right now, right? Do not post your GoFundMe in my chat. Do not do that. I don't go to your chat. I don't go to your channel and post donations in your chat to donate to my channel in your chat. No joking. Listen, what's wrong with Black people? Remove that from the chat.
The strong family was still the backbone of Black America, and 3 out of 4 children had both parents at home.
I'm not gonna stop.
A family to care for.
None of you married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
Yo, when they said
You already have.
Raise your hand if you're married. None of you are married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. One.
yo, when the white man asked why you don't want to be married to your baby's father, they laughed. They had a baby daddy problem. This is Black Americans. This is not Caribbean blacks. First, they were to interview Caribbean blacks. This is Black Americans, FBA. This is 1986. The ladies in here look to be 16, 18, 20. So these had to be bloomers. Born in the 60s.
The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. You know, it's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I don't want no man holding me down because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the room, so you know, it really, male figures are not substantially important in the family.
See what that's being said? Now, this vanishing report, the Black family, they're taking. I'm gonna say this about Black America, and this is how racist white America could have been or may have been, and you can make an argument for this, right? This white man, he's going into low-income project housing and doing this. Because in order to be into a lot of these low-income places and be put on welfare, you have to be the single mother, no father in your household individual. So I'm going to say this. Maybe it's white people at this time and at this time till now using the numbers generated from low-income housing and projecting it on to Black America or Black Americans in general objectively. So I'm going to say that, in my opinion. I'm not going to say that this was all of the Black America, because if you had the Cosby shows, if you had the Fresh Princes, even the John Amos, even though John Amos was broke, but he was still a father in his household. And those shows were a reflection of the cultures of Black culture at that time, right? So my theory is that what white people did is that they took the numbers generated from low-income Black families or Black households or project buildings and said that this was all of Black America. I think that's what they did, right? But the problem with it is now, you can see Black women today, like Ebony K. Williams. The difference is that Ebony K. Williams today has money, so she can go to go do an artificial, what you call that shit, Evita? When you go to the sperm bank and get pregnant, they can do that because they have money. Back then, these ladies are coming from low-income buildings, low project buildings, welfare and shit. And see, the problem in Black culture is that when we hold Black women accountable, the good Black women pick up for the Black women that are in the low-income housing doing the welfare shit, the welfare hustle. That's the problem. So that's why it's hard to tell if this is most Black women or just a few Black women, because the good Black women defend the misbehavior of the lowest common denominator of Black women. And then now what we do is they'll blame Black American men for what a small minority of Black American men are doing. See what I'm saying? At least for Black men like myself, we're not going to say all or most. We're going to say, in general. We're not going to say this is all. Or we're going to make a distinction. black women, they don't make a distinction between the black American male that's a Pookie Ray Ray or the lame or the educated, unless they want to make fun of them. When they talking about a black man that ain't shit, they included every black man into that group. The black man that's a doctor or lawyer, she's hyping him in the same level or the same group as the brother that's a dope dealer or a drug dealer on the corner. And this is why women in general should not be leadership, because never mind. That's another topic, another day. But in conclusion, black Americans or FBA, stop blaming everybody else for your bullshit, bro. Please. Like, the energy and time y'all taking to blame Caribbean blacks for whatever your issues are, you can be fixing yourselves. And before Minister Farrakhan and Marcus Garvey, y'all in the 1920s, y'all were full of shit then too. Go listen to Dirty Blues. We got black American women up there, FBA women, talking about being hoes and prostitutes. So, like, come on, bro. So, in my opinion, and let me say this, Jamaicans, right? You can still have respect for your black American brother and sisters and separate yourself from them. Respect them so long as they're respecting you. You all right? Don't let them disrespect you and you don't defend yourself. That's not right. But at the same time, we need to go back to cleaning our house up and sticking to each other as a community and a nation. Right? Because this argument with black Americans is going to continue. Right, and right now you're starting to see Tariq Nasheed himself start to separate himself from that movement, FBA thing. So, yeah, like, share, subscribe to my video, and Ross and everybody else that's going to be watching my channel, please respect my channel. I don't know how many times, this is the problem with black people in general. I don't care if it's Caribbean Negro or black American Negro. Y'all are hard of hearing. If I was a white dude or fresh and fit with big titty hoes on here, y'all would respect my damn show. Y'all wouldn't be talking about GoFundMe in the chat. That's the problem with niggas in general. Caribbean niggas and black American niggas. Y'all don't know how to respect each other's shit. I don't do that. I don't go into an Angry Man chat or anybody's chat and disrespect their child. I talk about what they're talking about. But anyway, this is Kishani Gaming Nation. I'm out.